When it comes to the commercialization of brands within the life science industry, too much reliance is placed on top performers to deliver the lion's share of the sales. It doesn't have to be that way. Teams have to have a level of consistency in the execution of customer experiences that drive sales across every single account and territory. My name is Mark Bradley, and after 20 years excelling in sales productivity across multiple brands, I have learned how the access to and the utilization of customer and account knowledge is the key to success. Join me and my guests from within the industry to access new ideas, strategies and tips on how to develop consistency in the delivery of a customer experience across all of your teams that drive sales in every single account and territory. Hello everyone, you're very welcome now to the third in the series of the Visiblegy webinar podcast sequence of discussions where we are looking to have discussions with very prominent people within the industry as into the challenge that has been faced by the industry in the delivery of commercial excellence. Today, we are joined by a gentleman that I have met on the speaker circuit, actually, is where my path and Laurent's path have crossed, where we were speaking at the KPM Global Commercial Excellence events. And afterwards, having a few beers, we had a difference of an opinion as to how things should be done, coming from two different perspectives and so on and so forth. So today's discussion could be quite feisty. First of all, Laurent, can I ask you to introduce yourself, maybe tell the audience a little bit about your background and why you are best placed as into understanding the challenge faced by the industry in the delivery of commercial excellence?
Very good. Thanks a lot, Mark, and thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to exchange ideas, and sometimes our views differ, but it's always very enriching. So my name is Laurent Decory. I'm French, based in Hamburg, Germany. I define myself as a commercial guy with a scientific background. So basically, I've been fully more than 20 years in the industry in companies like, Sanofi, Takeda, BSN Medical, and SET. So both pharma and medtech. I currently have two roles. I'm a board director of a Swiss biotech company called Aurelius Therapeutics. And I'm also the managing director of a consulting company called Blue Jet Consulting, where we help pharma and medtech implement their commercialization strategy, launch excellence, omni-channel, go-to-market, customer engagement. What I really like about commercial excellence to me is really the ability to use facts to improve each step of the commercialization process. Which therapies will drive growth, who are the real decision makers, what go-to-market strategy do we need, what front and back office resources we need, which are the priority accounts, what are our value propositions, and are we executing our plan? This to me is the definition of commercial excellence, and the reason why I like it so much, the idea of looking at all these aspects, but improve on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, it's quite enlightening to hear that, Laurent. I just, whenever I was looking at your profile on LinkedIn, when I started reading, and I had to stop halfway through to have something to eat, it was that bloody long. But you have 20 years international marketing, sales, and commercial excellence, both in medtech and biopharma. So whenever you're sitting in an international role and you look down into the national performances, what are you looking for that would reflect whether a country is delivering commercial excellence or they're not delivering commercial excellence? And please don't tell me that you're going to look at the target to see how their percentages are against the target.
Well, that's exactly the point. I think this industry focuses a lot on achieving sales target and very short-term focus while what I convey when I talk to colleagues or customers who say, let's first use the facts. What is the market? What is the driving force in this particular market? What evidence do we have? If we lack the evidence, can we collect it? From this evidence, is there any interpretation? And then what kind of plan can we build? So try to take the helicopter view, not just focus on achieving the short-term sales target. And I think this is a bit the issue of this industry, very product focused, very short-term sales focused, and not enough, looking at the big picture and looking at, customers, for example.
Yeah, so whenever you say get the facts, is this one of the challenges that the industry faces? Because the facts that they're actually getting sometimes are born out of historical sales data and sales performances of competitor brands. The prioritization of accounts are based on what another company has done in that field. Or, is the facts that they're gathering influencing what they're doing, and are they getting enough factual intelligence in order to deliver specific commercial excellence strategies at granular markets?
Mm-hmm. Well, first, again, I've been working on both pharma and medtech. So in a way, there are interesting differences, between pharma and medtech, but also commonalities, especially, for example, we talk to the same payers, we talk to the same HCPs, we talk to the same patients. But again, those industries tend to be so much focused on their products that they don't see the commonality. What those customers need is not just another product, they need a solution. And the facts, to me, the facts are everywhere. We can buy some facts like market size, market growth, but it depends a lot on the market and the country. I think what we underestimate is the ability to generate additional facts through the field, through just asking customers, what are your main issues? What are your main difficulties? These are the most important facts that probably we cannot buy, but that we can generate through the sales team, the field intelligence that we have on the ground, because we meet customers every day. But again, do we listen? Do we ask questions, or do we come with a predefined product story?
And do you think companies do that well? Because I deal with a lot of companies myself, but every time that you speak with them and you mention here, why don't you use your salespeople? It never comes back that well, or it's coming back in an Excel spreadsheet and then it's all open to interpretation. Are companies struggling in the capture of that coal-face granular information that enables them to really understand all of their customers and all of their market dynamics?
As I mentioned, these companies are very much, of course, focused on, am I achieving my sales target? And the problem is that I don't see the sales as an ultimate measure of success. The real success, in my view, is really the ability to hear customers, understand the need, build a relevant value proposition, define a plan, implement the plan, and see the benefit. Sales are to me a consequence of that. Why? Because in reality, sales are a lagging indicator. They come late, and they result from factors that are out of the control of the commercial teams, competitor activity, market evolution. So to me, gathering those facts starts from saying, where should I focus on? Where is the growth coming from? This particular account, who are the real decision makers? What are their individual needs? Can I answer with a product or a solution, or what is the value? What is the value story, the value proposition I can build as a salesperson, or I can shape from what I receive from marketeers? So to me, gathering this insight is a way of behaving. If we focus too much on achieving the sales target, we will not build the long-term success. And this is, again, as a consultant, this is really the key message I try to convey to my customers.
Right. So Laurent, just come back to a couple of things that you've just said there, which is that you're putting a lot of the emphasis on the quality of the representative that's out meeting the customer. And you're saying that the representative will find this intelligence themselves and then utilize that intelligence to take the right maybe pillar of the marketing strategy that fits with that customer to provide them with a solution? Are all of the reps good at that?
Well, again, we should not reinvent the wheel. I'm not saying that the reps should reinvent everything on their own. And of course, there are marketeers, there are people who do great analysis, but we have to go away from a sort of one-size-fits-all top-down approach. The old model of have a one brand, one strategy, and the sales execute this strategy, to me is the past. Each salesperson has the ability to listen, to ask questions, to combine all these elements that maybe they receive from the marketeers, but shape and rearrange the value proposition based on the answer they get. If the answer they get from an account is, my main issue is coping with COVID, or helping my patients have a remote telehealth consultation, or readapt in post-COVID, these require different solutions. So we cannot come with a sort of predefined story and just repeat it. We need to listen, to hear, to combine what we already know. Maybe we can buy some data side, but really combine those two elements, listen first, then shape the proposition. And of course, the ability of salespeople to do that varies a lot. Salespeople are usually very extroverts, or they like to talk. The difficulty is to learn to listen, to use silence, and really use the answers you get to shape your offering.
But if a representative doesn't ask the right questions, doesn't understand the market environment, doesn't understand the challenge that is being presented in the management of patients by that customer, how do they get this right?
Well, that's the whole point. I mean, there has been for some time sort of a share of voice approach where repetition was a key point, and we had to be in the face of the doctor to make it work. But in a COVID world where remote interaction channels are available, I don't think this model can work anymore. So if you think of specialty medicine, complex therapies, we cannot come with a one-size-fits-all. So treating all salesperson as the GM of their territory, make them really build a strategic plan for their territory, identifying customers and listening to their customers, and only then shape the offering. This is what we need to help the commercial teams really do, and not just push for more is better.
So the commercial excellence, in your opinion, can only be delivered, or it will be significantly, the percentage success will be certainly enhanced if the companies knew their customers better, knew the challenges that needed to be overcome, but had a support mechanism in place where they could actually capture the intelligence directly from their representatives, key account managers, healthcare development managers, MSLs, market access leads. If they could capture this intelligence more direct from their customers, it would enable them to understand the challenges that are being faced on an account level, at a granular level, to enable them then to support them from a marketing capacity and from a sales resource capacity. Would that be what you're saying?
Yeah, I really strongly believe in the integration, in stronger integration of marketing and sales together with commercial operations. I mean, again, this past approach of marketing does a strategy, send it to sales, and sales executes, to me is to be avoided absolutely. The sales has the capacity to interact with customers remotely or in person, to ask questions, to hear the issues. Based on these issues, sales and marketing can really build the value propositions, the multiple value propositions. So it's a constant back and forth, closed loop marketing, facilitated by sales operations who provide data, provide CRM systems, to capture this intelligence. At the end, if you think of multiple stakeholders, multiple channels, maybe at the end we need 15, 20 different value propositions. So the salesperson alone with no enhancements will have big difficulty to execute this complex approach. This is where sales operations and marketing really help analyzing the insight, creating customer subsegments, creating stories that then the sales can customize and deliver. So I really strongly believe in this integration of the three teams, basically sales, marketing, and commercial operations together,
Have you
commercial
seen,
excellence.
have you seen this anywhere?
100% not, but of course there are strong elements in strengths and weaknesses in each company, and of course during COVID we have seen a huge and very fast rush to digital. My struggle with digital is that if digital is isolated and is not treated together with sales and marketing, it will not solve everything. We've seen, for example, the rush to having webinars with customers. After 3 months, we all had the Zoom fatigue and it stopped being working. So digital as a way to meet the customers, to listen to customers in an integrated manner is the way to move forward.
But I would challenge that as into, right, so digital, as far as I'm concerned, is only a form of communication. It's a channel. It's a channel of communication. But if the teams that you have on the ground don't understand their market and the environment and their customer and the patience and the challenge that needs to be overcome, how do you, if you forget about digital at the minute, if you're not able to give the right value proposition and the right communication and the right marketing material and deliver a strong proposition with evidence as to the value it's going to bring that customer through a traditional communication, how are you going to do it any better through the digital communication if you still can't access that intelligence?
Yeah, exactly. Digital does not solve any of that. It's just an additional communication channel, which is very useful when we cannot meet in person. But if isolated from the rest, it's an overpromise, if you want. As you say, first analyzing the insight, then building the value proposition, and then build the omni-channel way to deliver these value propositions. If I can meet in person, I meet in person. If the customer prefers to meet remotely, then I'm ready as an organization to combine this channel and to orchestrate them. So the common sense and the fundamentals of selling still prevail. It's just digital allows to cope with COVID times, and it's also a great enabler or amplifier of a sound sales strategy, but it cannot be treated in isolation because it does not solve the insight generation, does not solve the value proposition, and it does not solve the personal relationship and the trust that exists and has to be reinforced between a salesperson and an HCP.
Very good. Right. So there was one piece that stood out for me, and this is a wee bit tongue in cheek, actually, Laurent. But whenever I was looking through your profile, you had the term field execution, and the first thing was coming into my head is that Laurent Decory's brought in to manage the underperforming people within teams as he goes out into the field for execution. Can you explain to me what field execution is, other than getting rid of underperformance?
Yeah, I hope nobody will be executed anyway. But no, what we probably should refer to is field implementation. So in my view, every commercial person needs to have an implementation plan, whether it's at brand level, national, regional level, territory, or account level. It's really about behaving as the general manager of your territory, if you want. Is what is the opportunity? What is my goal? What are my strengths and weaknesses? Who do I need to convince? What is the amount of activity I need to deliver? To whom? What milestones can I commit to? Am I meeting those milestones? If not, can I improve? So this mindset of self-assessment, self-improvement through the facts, through the transparency of the execution, to generate ongoing improvement. This is what I call field implementation. So this transparency and this constant improvement, because if we don't do that, basically all these strategies and products fail. So the moment of truth is, are we implementing those plans? And if not, what can we learn from the deviations and take immediate actions?
But is it implementation, or is it actually the understanding of the variances and the diversities within market environments? Because you can get a team out there and they're given the campaign and they go out and they implement the campaign. and they're quite effective at implementing the campaign, and that's quite evident in their CRM system or whatever you want to call it. But it still doesn't deliver on the sales.
No, because to me, it's not about a repetition, mechanical repetitions of something that has been created at the headquarters. An implementation plan or tactical plan is really a customized plan for my territory, for my account, for my region, because I've learned what is specific to this region. I've heard about the problems they meet. I can use the campaigns if it's really based in multiple bricks. I can assemble those bricks in creating a solution for my territory, for my account. So it's this combination of really listening first and using the elements I receive, but it's not a mechanical repetition of I need to do 12 calls and everything will come. No, I need to shape what I do based on what I've heard, and only then, if I'm able to adapt my plan and implement my plan, I will succeed. If I have issues, I need to self-assess how maybe I've not done what I was planning to. I can take my corrective actions. I can discuss with my line manager, how can I improve? But to me, it's about moving from, let's be mechanically executing. If there's an issue, my boss will tell me, no, I will behave as a general manager. I will self-assess, I will self-improve, and I will adapt my plan. That's maybe what I call field execution or field implementation.
So I often have you seen it within any structures that you've been privy to working either from an internal perspective or an external perspective, where this actually happens, where you have people that are on the ground taking ownership of their accounts, taking ownership of their customers, and then delivering excellence across every single account. Have you ever seen it?
Well, I've seen excellent, salespeople. I've seen excellent regional managers, but it's really more selective individuals or selective teams. I've seen very few organizations really make this a default way of working. And again, I've seen successes here and there, but very few companies who have a sort of 100% implemented this customized approach.
But do you think that's down to the natural talent and skill set of the individual, or do you think that's something that's born out of the company that has led to that person being that top performer?
Well, I think there's a natural talent of some salespeople to be extremely good at selling, but again, if the market conditions change, like COVID, things we need to adapt. There are some excellent regional sales managers who are able to coach their teams, but again, we need to, and as consultants, we also need to help organizations make this more systematic approach to really to succeed.
Right, so I'm going to close this off because we want to keep these discussions short and sweet. But right, so in summary, if I was to ask you now, right, so if you were getting into a company and you wanted to actually be in a position to frame how they were going to deliver commercial excellence, what would you do first, second, third in order to ensure that the company was able to look back in 2 years' time and say, do you know what, that worked?
Mm-hmm. I would really start with a diagnosis of really a specific country to say what is the country specificity in terms of healthcare, whatever, portfolio, strategy, and so on. What are the 1, 2, or 3 areas where this country really has some very big strengths to be replicated and also weaknesses to be addressed? Then I would agree with the general manager to say, what is the improvement plan we can prepare together? Is about people training, coaching, targeting, and so on. And then really have this ongoing improvement on the 2 or 3 areas of focus. And after 1 or 2 years, basically start all over again. Have we achieved the improvements we were aiming for? And as the environment change, and let's redo a diagnosis for the new context.
Can I just, I didn't want to ask you another question, but it's just so in my head at the minute. Do you believe that the current CRM systems that are being utilized by the industry are fit for purpose on the delivery of commercial excellence?
I would say that it's probably not the system, but how the systems are used. Typically, are the systems used to monitor and track, to push for sales achievement, or are they used to really gather insight, to use this insight to, again, prioritize the accounts? Are they used to build the tactical plans, or are there a lot of tools around the CRM to build those tactical plans? So I think any system can fit if you have the right mindset to say, we analyze, we gather insight, we customize the plans, and then we monitor the execution of those plans. If it's only to track, if we are making the right number of calls every day, then it's not used in the right way.
Is that not what the majority of companies are doing?
Still, of course. Huh?
Yeah. So how do we get them away from that? How do we get them away from that mindset, and how do we move them to the mindset where the customer, you're capturing information? I have yet to see a system, by the way, that enables the representatives to capture the depth of granular intelligence that enables them to build situational insight around the customer and the account. I've yet to see one that does that. Taking that intelligence, I have yet to then see a system that enables them then to build out an account plan that fits with the sales and marketing aligned strategy, and then the delivery of an implementation of a strategy. I've yet to see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've not seen any off-the-shelf system that does that, but then that's why, again, many companies build around some additional customer insight generation tools or key account plans on top of the CRM. So yeah, no perfect system, but again, as long as are we focusing on the right thing? If we only monitor, am I achieving my sales? Whatever the CRM, you will fail. If you focus on, am I identifying the right customers and building insight, we will succeed whatever the system. So typically moving from just reviewing the sales achievement to moving to key account or account reviews already would be a good start for companies to remove into this customer focus execution.
What's your interpretation of the influence of these global consultancy firms? And I'm not going to mention any of them in particular. I see you smiling there already. So why is it that the industry keep going to the same 3 or 4 consultancy firms, and they all churn out the exact same thing, and this direction influences what the companies do? And what's your feelings about that?
Yeah, when I was in pharma medtech companies, I was using those big consulting firms, and my frustration came from the fact that they were first basically gathering some insight, but then basically making the very nice PowerPoint and then convincing top management and leaving when the real life started. And this was the reason why I created Blue Jet Consulting, to have a completely different approach, to say, no, we don't do the best PowerPoint, we do the real life implementation. So I don't have maybe the answer of why, except that these companies are very visible and well known and have a very strong access to the key decision makers. So they probably do very good key account management with the pharma companies. But I think I believe that companies like your company or my company are in a better position to be really helping companies implement in real life. From having been in the industry for years and years, you've seen those situations, you've seen those difficulties, and you know that if companies don't focus on the sort of big story, on the big PowerPoint, and say, no, it's about the customer focus, the key account management, the way you manage the ongoing review process, this is what will make the difference. I think we're in a better position than these big companies to help the pharma and medtech companies implement that.
Yeah, but they didn't spend the big money, so it's not real. So the information they're getting, how could them smaller companies get that level of? How would them smaller companies know, actually? Because it hasn't come from one of these massive global consultancy firms. Then it couldn't be real. It couldn't be true what these guys are saying.
Yeah. Maybe there's another benefit of these big consulting firms. Sometimes what you want to do as a pharma company, but if you say it to your teams, they will not believe it. And sometimes if it's said by a third party, you gain a bit of credibility and say, oh yeah, we need to do that because company X is recommending it.
We paid a couple of $100,000 for them to do so.
Yeah, so it's really important, and we have to do it.
True. It's true, because with the money, the bill tells us how accurate the information is. What I'm trying to get to with companies is that the first thing that they have got to do is they have got to build a commercial excellence process that works with their people that are actually out dealing with their customers. And it's the understanding of what has to be done with what customer when. And unfortunately, if companies aren't teaching that skill set, the people that they're employing are actually just going to go out and do what they've been told to do, which is, this is the message. I want you to do 3 calls, and away they go and they do the 3 calls. And there's no reflection of what them calls should be, the value that they're going to bring, or the outcome they're going to generate. And I've sat in too many teams and I've sat in too many meetings where I'm actually sitting listening to people, and they're being recognized for their call rate. And I'm going, oh, Jesus, is this where we're going? Like, is this, and somebody else might have 1 call a day, but their sales are twice as high. I told you that story about the ability of the customers to actually recall. It was the recall rate where I was pulled in, because my recall rate in Northern Ireland was low for a brand, but I had the top sales in Europe. But yet my recall rate was not good, as in the customer recall rate. But that's because I didn't go away from what the company wanted. But the recall rate was measured on a 3 message, whereas the customer only required 1 message. So they're only ever able to deliver 1 of the messages, which was the one that was relevant for the management of their patients.
Yeah. But to me, the one way of unlocking this power is to go away from this top-down review, to retreat the reps as the GMs of their territory, and trust that they are intelligent enough to do this analysis and really run the territory reviews as you would run a country review. And this, to me, this creates a cascade, a willingness to improve, which I've seen work. Everybody can do that, as long as you don't punish them for not achieving this percentage of sales, but you say, yeah, but what is your strategy? What can you do to improve your territory? And you run the territory review like that, not to justify why the sales were not achieved, but what strategically do you need to do in your territory to achieve that?
But I think it needs that, but it needs also the transparency within that, in order to ensure that you, as a manager, even from a regional manager, or a general manager, or a country manager, you know exactly where your people sit with respect to their abilities, as to, first of all, capture the situational insight, understand what strategy needs to be delivered, and what content needs to be presented to move that customer forward. The companies are not good at this, Laurent.
Yeah. The fact step first, the transparency, and then interpretation and action.
Yeah, but the other thing that I think leads them down the pathway that they take in the majority of cases is their CRM systems, because their CRM systems are telling them false information, because there's an expectation on the utilization of a CRM system that the representatives use, because that's what's expected of them. But that then data set is then informing the company as into what's happening, when in actual fact it's not happening. I just think that and I'm going to do a talk on CRM systems, because I think they're bloody abysmal. I think CRM systems are shockingly bad, as into the process that needs to be applied to deliver commercial excellence. And is that reflective in your CRM system? I don't think that is.
Well, to me, any system can work if you have this mindset. To me, the biggest issue is more the mindset to say, do I do repetitive, approach, or do I allow, or do I encourage this adaptation? Even with existing CRM systems, there are some tweaks you can do to improve them. But I agree with you, many of them off the shelf don't allow that.
So folks, tune in again in the next 3 or 4 weeks. We're actually bringing our next guest is actually somebody who's not within the pharmaceutical industry. They work in an industry where the knowledge that they generate against their customer and their market is at such a high level that leads them to really understand what the marketing and sales strategy needs to be built like in order to actually deliver performance on their brand. So tune in the next 3 or 4 weeks and we'll bring that to you. Laurent, thank you very much. I really do appreciate you giving up your time and affording me the time to have this conversation with you. I'm sure that didn't take too much out of you. It's well within your capabilities to answer these challenging questions. So
thanks a lot, Mark.
And I really appreciate what you've come and told our audience today. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the opportunity, and see you hopefully soon in one of those face-to-face events.
Well, I'm hoping.
We'll try.
I'm hoping to be in Lisbon actually, but we'll see what happens from the pandemic perspective and the implications of travel and so on and so forth.
Thanks again, Mark.
Good man.
Bye.